For the Charlotte City Council meeting, no longer do we have to compete with Monday Night Football and perhaps not even college basketball so much.
There's a big game tonight.
There is a big game tonight?
UConn and South Carolina.
Oh, my.
Basketball.
Okay. There's a big game tonight. UConn and South Carolina, the women's team is playing, and so we wish our University of South Carolina folks good luck with that one. Okay.
We'll be watching it.
So I'd like to call the February 10th, 2020 meeting of the Charlotte City Council to order and say welcome to all of you who are here today. We begin our meetings with an invocation or an expression followed by our Pledge of Allegiance. The invocation or expression is really intended to solemnize our own proceedings, and we celebrate the diversity of religion in our community, including those that without a religious faith. And so we are going to ask Councilmember Driggs to address us tonight with the invocation, and you're welcome to participate if you choose to do so. After Mr. Councilmember Driggs is complete, we will ask you to all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance that we will do tonight. So, Councilmember, I'm sorry, we forgot our introductions. We'll start with our city attorney. Please, introductions for everyone.
Good evening. I'm Patrick Baker, city attorney.
Ed Driggs, District 7.
Good evening, Victoria Watlinson, District 3.
Tark Picard, District 6.
Malcolm Graham, District 2.
Mark Eggleston, District 1.
Happy Monday, Julie Eisel, at large and Mayor Pro Tem.
Good evening, Bylaws Mayor.
City Manager.
Renee Johnson, District 4.
Happy Monday, Braxton Winston at large.
Dimple Ashmira, welcome at large.
Good evening and happy early Valentine's Day. Matt Newton, District 5.
Stephanie Kelly, City Clerk.
And now we'll ask Mr. Driggs.
Would you stand with me if you wish, please? Heavenly Father, as we gather here today, we thank you for the many kinds of abundance in our lives and for the wonderful city in which we live. We pray that we are ever mindful of opportunities to render service to fellow citizens and to our community, keeping in mind always the enduring values of life and devoting our efforts to those things upon which future generations can build with confidence. Let us continue to strive to make a better world. Amen.
We'll now have our pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Start singing the anthem. Singing the anthem.
At this time, we'd like to follow with an awards and recognition that we would like to make, and I'd like to ask the Mayor Pro Tem to read our proclamation for this evening. Thank you. And I don't know, Ms. Hurt, would you like to accept the proclamation, and then you would have 3 minutes to respond to it, I believe, and that way we can do this. So Ms. Hurt, who is president of the League.
Great, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Pro Tem.
So whereas February 2020 marks the 100th anniversary of the founding of the League of Women Voters of Charlotte-Mecklenburg, and whereas the year 2020 marks the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, giving women the right to vote, and whereas the League of Women Voters of Charlotte-Mecklenburg, as well as the League of Women Voters of the United States, was founded in 1920 to help 20 million women, new women voters, carry out their new responsibilities. And whereas the League of Women Voters has worked for 100 years empowering voters, protecting democracy by providing nonpartisan information on candidates and issues for elections, encouraging voter registration and informed voting, helping generations of citizens understand the structure and function of government, providing nonpartisan, balanced information on public policy issues to citizens, and working to achieve government policies that promote public interest. And whereas the League of Women Voters of Charlotte-Mecklenburg will celebrate their 100th anniversary of its founding and of women's right to vote on February 29th, 2020 at a gala event. Now therefore, I, Alexander Lyles, Mayor of Charlotte, do hereby proclaim February 29th, 2020 as a special day to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the League of Women Voters.
Thank you very much. Your 2 minutes now. You may, if you're welcome to.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
I saw that. Would the members of the League please stand and be recognized?
It's the first and only time we've ever had happy signs in the audience.
Thank you very much. So the next item on our agenda is our public forum. And we begin our public forum where we have speakers. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Hurt's going to lead us off with this. But we have, in our public forum, we have 2 minutes for each speaker. But I wanted to make a note that we do not see this as a time to respond. We take the information, the staff will follow up with you. You will either get a phone call or a letter or an email. The city manager will make sure all of you get that, and the council gets a copy of that information. So tonight, when you speak, we listen. And then you will get a follow-up as a result of your presentation to us. Ms. Hurt.
Good evening. My name is Dolores Johnson Hurt, and I am president of the League of Women Voters of Charlotte-Mecklenburg. Thank you, Mayor, for proclaiming February 29th a special day to celebrate 100 years of the League of Women Voters and the right of women to vote in the United States. Our gala starts at 6 p.m. that evening at the Le Méridien Hotel uptown. It is a fundraiser, and you can support the work of the League by going online to goleaguego.org to purchase tickets. I'd like to take a moment to talk about the League's history. I believe that today, women's right to vote is taken for granted. Some may even believe women could always vote. However, that is far from true. The predecessors of the founders of the League, including women of color, fought for over 70 years for that right. They were berated and physically assaulted as they struggled to have a say in how they were governed. They held countless demonstrations. They marched in blizzard conditions in front of the White House. They went on hunger strikes. They lobbied male legislators. They were arrested. Finally, in 1920, all women could vote. For women of color, it was not until the 1964 Civil Rights Act that we were effectively enfranchised. Today, membership in the League is open to all residents of the United States, men as well. We have men on our local board. We work to protect voting rights for everyone. In particular,
We have
I
2
had
minutes.
3 minutes.
2 minutes, I'm sorry, because we have a number of speakers tonight, so.
Well, may I
if you-
finish, please? I was told I had 3 minutes.
Okay.
I was told I had 3 minutes.
Yes, let's do
Yes,
that.
please.
Okay. So we work to
Received the
protect voting rights for everyone. In particular, we advocate for fair elections and an end to gerrymandering and voter suppression. Valentine's Day, February 14th, is the actual birthday of the League, but we are celebrating on the 29th. Everyone in Charlotte and Mecklenburg County should celebrate with us on this auspicious occasion. Thank you very much. Members of the League, thank you as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hurd. And thank you for allowing us to remind ourselves that 3 minutes is 3 minutes when we tell you that. So thank you. All right, the next speaker that we have is Sean Gaddy. Mr. Gaddy? And 2 minutes, Mr. Gaddy.
Unless you allowed a major voting block to be able to have the right.
Good evening. Thank you, Council, for letting us speak tonight. My name is Morgan Williams. I'm here on behalf of the Elizabeth Community
I'm
Association.
sorry, are you Mr. Gaddy?
He'll be going next.
No, we go in the order, I'm sorry, I know this sounds very prescribed, because it is. We go in the order by which the speakers are signed up, and so I have first Mr. Gaddy, Ms. Lambert, and Mr. Williams.
Mr. Williams.
So in that order. Yeah. I'm sorry. So, Mr. Gaddy, please come down, and Ms. Lambert follows.
The order that we signed up, it was intended for Morgan to lay the groundwork of the project, as he's an important figure in the neighborhood.
You know, guys, you guys work it out and tell me who's speaking. Just say your name so that I know who's up first. And as long as you stick to the 2 minutes, we'll be in good shape. I apologize, but I'm following those.
Understand. Thank you. My name is Morgan Williams. I'm here tonight on behalf of
Okay.
the Elizabeth Community Association. Thank you for hearing us tonight. We're here to talk about the streetcar project and the adverse impact that it has had upon our community, and to ask for your assistance. You're going to hear tonight from Sean Gaddy, Ann Lambert, and Sarah Crowder as well, and they're going to share a couple of core points with you. First and foremost, just to make sure that everybody is aware of the project, it stretches on Hawthorne Lane from 5th Street to Sunnyside. It's roughly a 2,785-foot stretch. of property which has been under construction for over 1,000 days. It's left our community divided. It's left us without a bridge, and it's left us, to be honest with you, dealing with dangerous conditions on an ongoing basis. We have oftentimes sought assistance from the city, and we were able to engage with Mr. Jones or Mike Davis. We get quick responses, but unfortunately the project management is not strong enough to ensure that their ongoing support is really sustainable. So what we oftentimes deal with is issues that get bubbled up and then are quickly addressed, but then quickly revert back to exactly the same level of danger, if not greater than before. Our community is deeply concerned by these. Additionally, we're concerned that our quality of life has been impaired for over 3 years now. So for 1,000 days, we've had to put up with ongoing sporadic nighttime work. We're not really as much concerned about organized efforts as we are as ad hoc projects that show up in the middle of the night, disrupt our daily routines and our nightly routines, wake our children, disrupt our businesses, and injure or potentially hinder our sleep. We are deeply concerned that the city is not enforcing its noise ordinance, and frankly, we have heard that they have waived the noise ordinance for the duration of the project. Last but not least, we've got two asks tonight. The first one is...
Your 2 minutes are up.
Thank you.
So we'll go, if the next speaker, if you'll just state your name.
My name is Sean Gaddy. I live in the Elizabeth neighborhood, corner of 8th and Hawthorne, in a historic landmark home, the Harry Golden home. Prior to the onset of this project, I met with the project managers as well as historic landmarks related to the home, intended construction project, and how it may impact my particular home. Additional works, structural works were done on the home to somewhat try to protect it. One of my big concerns has not only been safety, but also the construction practices. Lots of shaking, especially on the second level of the house, stucco cracks, structural failures, plaster pops, and tile cracks as well. This information's been passed on to the city managers. They've been more than accommodating as far as coming out and speaking with me, answering phone calls. I understand that project is going to go further through the Plaza Midwood area. There's also historic homes there as well. So I would just ask for you guys to be open to hearing our side as far as damages that have occurred, and possibly look at construction practices and how that may further impact additional historic properties in the Elizabeth neighborhood.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, council members. My name is Ann Lambert. I'm an Elizabeth resident, voter, and taxpayer. I'm here tonight as a resident of Hawthorne Court and a member of the Hawthorne Court Homeowners Association. I want to add my comments about the city's management of this streetcar project. As others have noted, there is a very clear safety hazard posed by this project and the lack of supervision and oversight. I have seen open fencing, missing barriers. It's very concerning. Hawthorne Court has also dealt with other safety issues, including improperly calibrated stoplights resulting in heavy delays getting to Central, cars channeled into our dead-end private street, and debris left in the street, uneven roads, unsafe moving equipment, and unsafe storing of materials in public right-of-ways. As most are aware, the project experienced problems with the girder installation. In addition, we experienced powerful, unabated overnight lighting. Although I'm informed the contract requires the contractor to use screens, we have yet to see any. The noise that was referenced has been at times so loud both day and night, it has made it difficult to maintain a reasonable quality of life. Late last year, there were days when construction was ongoing for 22 hours a day. Additionally concerning is that the work is so sporadic, intense periods of work for a week or 10 days, followed by months of no activity. We have cracks in our stucco. We have drywall cracks and settling. Our green areas and curbs have been damaged as a result of vehicles turning into our private drive. We have engaged the city but are concerned with the lack of concrete details regarding the future. We need a clear path forward. I want to ask that the city reimburse us for the use of a licensed professional engineer to inspect our property. I want to ask that the city assign a representative to help process the claims associated with any damage by the city or contractor. And I want to join the others tonight that have expressed a need for improved coordination by the city with the community concerning this project. We need to have a sense of partnership and understanding how the city will leave our community and accountability for the commitments we understand, including the operating hours of the streetcar.
Thank you very much. Ms. Crowder, Sarah Crowder.
Good evening. I'm Sarah Crowder. I'm president of the Elizabeth Community Association. I'm a lifelong resident of Charlotte, and I currently live on Greenway Avenue. There are many reasons my husband and I bought our home in Elizabeth nearly 38 years ago, but I can assure you it was not so that we could live along a road that's been torn up and almost impassable for nearly 3 years, so that our children could run through an open barricade to a 30-foot drop-off to a freeway, so that heavy equipment could be parked almost in our front yards for 1,000 days, so that our historic home would be damaged by construction vibrations, or so that we could have a streetcar rumbling by our homes after midnight and worry about what those vibrations could do to our houses. These are just a few of the awful conditions that Morgan Ann and Sean and their neighbors and the businesses and churches along Hawthorne have endured for years. They are suffering. So we want you to step up, enforce your contract with Johnson Brothers Construction Company and your city ordinances. Make this company remedy the unacceptable conditions on this poorly managed construction site. It needs to be cleaned up and made safe starting tonight. Establish a timeline for completing this project that will not subject the neighbors to intolerable conditions. Commit to an independent safety inspector to walk the site weekly. And don't dismiss the concerns of the people who live with this project day and night. You would not want to live with this project in your front yard. Commit funds, as Ann asked, for the neighbors to hire a structural engineer to assess the damage to their homes and then expedite those damage claims. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Earlier today, Mr. Williams sent me an email about whether or not we would meet immediately after this meeting, and what I've asked if you would consider a meeting later this week. We will have staff resources there. The city manager's office will be represented. We will be in touch with you to arrange that. Thank you. The next speaker is Scott Bryan. Mr. Bryan? Or Ms. Bryan, excuse me.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council. My name is Scott Bryan, and first let me say thank you so much for your public service. I'm here tonight to share some thoughts on the subject of allocation of public funds, particularly the tourism and occupancy tax dollars, and ask that the city seek a broader balance in its distribution of these funds, provide greater public education and transparency as it relates to its allocation. And speaking more broadly, I'd like for you to consider how large public subsidies to organizations already operating under enormous tax-exempt advantages play a role in inequality. First, the public always welcomes more transparency and stronger public education, whether that be on your government website or in the media, regarding the usage of public dollars. But moving on, it appears that the city has a deal on the table with MLS and its partnership with Mr. Tepper for an allocation of tourism tax funds and upgrades and revitalization. It's certainly exciting to have a pro sports team, particularly soccer, in a city, And of course, it's wonderful to have revitalization in areas such as the Eastland Mall and some on the west side. That is long overdue. However, there are a few concerns that I'm sure you recognize, but it's worth bringing before you tonight regarding the bigger picture of inequality and fair distribution of resources. As the city continues to negotiate these complex real estate deals and operation deals with various entities, I encourage you to take into consideration the enormous tax breaks already afforded to these corporations and individuals on various levels. Take Mr. Tepper's near $4 million stadium tax reduction recently. I know that's by the county. But imagine if that was spread around and these other businesses didn't have to shoulder the burden of that lost tax revenue. Or take the loss of city revenue from renting the land to the stadium for $1, which has to be spread out to other businesses to make up that difference. And even on the state level, Mr. Tepper does not contribute any income tax to the North Carolina Treasury because he primarily resides in a tax-free state, which is Florida. So when local governments commit valuable tax funds or offer these breaks, it's less money. And also, I'd like to know, they were told me I had 3 minutes, that no one notified me I had 2.
I'm so sorry.
If I could could I just put a plug in for the arts community and the tax allocation funds, which I was getting to.
If you would give a copy of your remarks to the city clerk, she will distribute them to each one of us.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Okay, that would be helpful. Thank you. All right. The next speaker is Bobby Kirkpatrick. Mr. Kirkpatrick.
Hello, Madam Mayor, esteemed council. It's good to see you guys again. My name is Bobby Kirkpatrick. I work for LSG Sky Chef, which is a catering company here in Charlotte. We cater airlines. We cater mainly American Airlines, which is a monster of a company. We put food, beverages on airplanes. The sodas and beverages the sodas and food that you eat has names on them. Those are my co-workers. Most of them live in a poverty and work in a poverty wage. I've been working at LSG Sky Chef for 38 years, and I make $16 an hour. That is terrible. What I'm asking my city government to do is to help those employees at LSG Sky Chef, which primarily deal with American Airlines. We're not asking you for anything that you won't want for yourselves. We need a living wage. The poverty that these people, my people, are under because they're dedicated people that go to work every day, they shouldn't be taken advantage of. So I'm asking my council to urge American Airlines and to urge LSG Sky Chef to help and to seek a better living wage. Most of my coworkers can't afford health care. A lot of them have to have subsidy health care through the government. And that's putting more burden on my city. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kirkpatrick. Our next speaker is David Rosen.
Good evening, and thank you for your service. I'm here today on my 25th birthday to talk about our climate. And what is being passed between y'all is a copy of Asheville's climate emergency resolution that was passed last week or 2 weeks ago at this point, by the City of Asheville, as well as our letter that we sent to the mayor every Friday since December 6th, asking for a meeting. And this was as a representative of the youth of Charlotte. We are incredibly, incredibly grateful to be meeting with the mayor and her staff tomorrow, and wanted to just use this as an opportunity to tell the rest of the council about why we're here and what we're looking for. We know that by the time that I'm 55, which will be in 2050, that we're aiming to be a low-carbon city. We also know that by then I will be older than a lot of the people that I'm looking at in front of me. What we want to make sure is that there's transparency and accountability to our wonderful Strategic Energy Action Plan and the Sustainable and Resilient Charlotte by 2050 resolution. We know that our leaders have their hearts in the right place and are trying their best to make sure that we have a livable future, a future where we don't have to deal with the tornadoes that kept me from getting to my home on Clanton Road for a full 2 hours earlier in the month. And we have a platform, a list of asks that we would love to work together with you to try to figure out ways to make sure that this stays accountable, including adding youth to the CEAP working groups, making sure that we have environmental impact statements coming out of the committee that now has purview over the environment, and making sure that we have our budgets accountable to the goals of the CEAP so that by 2030 we reach the city's goals. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Kate Harrison.
Good evening. My name is Kate Harrison, a representative of Charlotte Youth Environmental Leaders. This fall, an estimated 2,000 youth and Charlotte residents have participated in the global Fridays for Future or School Strike for Climate movement in Charlotte, NC, demanding climate action. And we all would like to thank the City Council for unanimously passing the Strategic Energy Action Plan last year. But in order to properly act on a crisis, we must first recognize that we are in one. We need to change our approach to tackling the climate and ecological crisis. As David mentioned, before you today is a resolution endorsing the declaration of a climate emergency, an emergency mobilization effort to restore a safe climate from the Asheville City Council, the first city in North Carolina to pass such a resolution, and we can't afford for it to be the last. Recognizing our ongoing climate emergency is the first step in fixing it. This recognition and realization is essential in implementing the bold action and plans that come along with it, including the implementation of CEAP. We've seen the growing voices for change coming throughout the city of Charlotte and the rest of the world. We understand the urgency of this crisis and the little time remaining in fixing it. The youth here representing Earth Uprising, Extinction Rebellion Youth Charlotte, Sunrise Movement Charlotte, Fridays for Future Charlotte, and NC Climate Strike have read this open letter signed by residents of Charlotte to illustrate the need for recognition of the emergency we face and actions that come with addressing it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Pratouche, Pat, please. What? Papa, please come down and you have to speak.
I go by Atta. I'm with David and Kate as a representative of their Charlotte Youth Environmental Groups. Good evening to all present, and thank you for the opportunity that allows me to speak on something that I'm particularly concerned about. What is environmentalism? To me, it's not about saving the earth or protecting trees or improving biodiversity or anything generally about animals. It's more so about the human experience. Environmentalism is about wealth disparities, health issues, economic burdens, social disruptions, and more. Environmentalism is about ensuring that extreme weather patterns like the tornado we saw last week do not grow exponentially and out of control. Environmentalism is about ensuring clean access to water and a dependable access to electricity and medical services that won't be hindered by torrential rains, pollution, reduced groundwater levels, and other such climate and environmental disasters that will be there when I'm 30 or 40 years old. Environmentalism is about ensuring that the future generations in Charlotte don't have to go out wearing pollution masks like the apocalyptic pictures we see coming out of Shanghai, Beijing, and Delhi. Environmentalism is about ensuring that the working class Charlottean is not disadvantaged because of the burdens that will come with climate change. And I believe I speak for all youth climate groups, adult climate groups, and concerned citizens, urge all of you and those beyond the walls of this room to respond to climate change with the same attention that is provided to affordable housing, health problems, and other issues that affect us. The current vacuum in national environmental leadership is only making it worse, and there is an unfortunate precedent being set that the environment does not matter, and that rapid uncontrolled development is the way to go. This false rhetoric is not only damning to the current generation, but is setting the pace for a gross disrespect to scientific data and research evidence. The need for Charlotte to become environmentally conscious could not be greater at this point of time, and we need to turn the tide before it crushes us. And as Councilmember Driggs mentioned at the beginning of this meeting, we need to strive for a better and a more sustainable future. To end, I'll leave you with a small analogy. Environmental concerns to society...
Thank you very much.
I'll just finish my last sentence. Environmental concerns to society is like a car's tire. Sure, you can drive on flats, but for how long? Thank you.
Thank you. So to this group, I'd like to say I'm looking forward to a meeting tomorrow with you at 1 o'clock. I'd like to invite anyone at the dais to please join me with the group and the staff. We will be talking about our CAP plan, which we saw as a priority. When we approved the housing framework, we approved an environmental action plan, and that action plan is underway. And we've also addressed the issue of mobility and how we're going to make the world, and at least this city, and hopefully more cities in our region, more environmentally friendly with mobility options and choices. So I look forward to meeting with you tomorrow at 1 o'clock, and please feel free to join us at the meeting. Our next speaker,
I just have a quick comment. Could we get an update on the CAP working groups and how youth is engaged in that group?
I was going to say one more thing. We are going to have on March the 4th at our budget workshop an update of the CAP plan that's on the agenda, and we can address the question about youth engagement at that time. Thank you very much. Okay, so the next speaker that we have is Damiana. Ms. Damiano Dowdy. 1 o'clock tomorrow. Anyone that's interested in hearing the young people tomorrow, feel free to just come.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Damiana Dendi. I am a research analyst with Unite Here, the Airline Catering and Airport Concessions Workers Union. The report that I'm giving to you right now shows that American Airlines receives public subsidies in the form of capital improvements, non-airline terminal revenues, and tax exemptions. Since 2015, the Charlotte City Council has approved over $103 million in spending on airport projects that have benefited American Airlines more than any other airline at CLT. Between 2016 and 2018, the city gave American Airlines $63.5 million of non-terminal airport revenue. Tax breaks on jet fuel that were implemented back when airlines were struggling benefit American Airlines at an estimated cost of $27 million per year. On top of these public subsidies, Americans' cost per plane passenger is only $1.26 at CLT, lower than any of its other hubs. And CLT's passenger facility charge is only $3, lower than every single large hub airport in the entire country. While American makes billions here in Charlotte, Charlotte residents pay a price. Charlotte flyers must pay 16% more for domestic airfare than the national average, which is also higher than any other American hub. Subcontracted airline catering workers serving American Airlines will be paid as low as $11 per hour as of February 28th of this year, and must pay premiums over $500 per month for employer-provided family health insurance. At the end of my report, I've included questions that I encourage the council to ask the city, the airport, and American Airlines. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. William Vogt. Okay. The next speaker is Mr. Leo Amon.
that, brother.
Careful coming down those steps now. I think there's a stool back there. There's a stool up there. That's a long way, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. My name is Leo Amon. I am here tonight because, well, this is a climate crisis. It's not change. People are calling it denial. It is not denial. You are not going to deny what is the truth. It is climate crisis that we were talking here. And first of all, the pollen apocalypse. It was like last spring, and I'd like everyone who has asthma or some type of breathing problems, me included, were having serious issues because pollen is one of our main allergens that all humans suffer from, which is not a good thing. And if I want to say something, I'm going to say this stuff. So, you know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say this, that at the Tuesday something breakfast something that George Dunlap was at last week, what happened? He said climate change is not our best priority. Wrong. That is so wrong. This should be your most priority. And we can have, I understand how people are testifying about, well, not testifying, whatever this is, but saying about, like, this construction, yeah, that's true. But I think climate change should be our main crisis thing going on right now. Because this is what depends on how we live. Do you want to live the full human lifespan? I think you do. Do you want every kid in this world to die at ages 10 or 11? I don't think so. But how the actions of people that they've been doing are saying that you guys don't care.
Well, I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you, Mr. Aman, for your passion and your delivery. And we do see this as a crisis. We talk about it as a crisis. So I'm glad that this community is living and speaking up. I think the biggest change that we can make is having engagement by people in this community to say do this and do it the way that makes a difference. So thank you all for being here. That is the last speaker that I have on the public forum. Do we have any other speakers, Madam Clerk? Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I'm looking at an older list. Tina Castanos, thank you very much.
No, good.
Leo Amon is my son. What he failed to tell you is he forgot that increased pollen counts are because of increased CO2 due to fossil fuel burning. IPCC report, 9 years, climate emergency. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 months pregnant, admitted into the for-profit industrial medical complex. My shrill screams of labor pains puncture the silent nurses' corridors. Nasty, nasty nurses placing bets that I take the poison epidural. I am relentless for a natural birth. Nasty, nasty nurses taunt me by rolling in the poison epidural cart, enraging me into further resolve. My screams become petitions to the doctor. Let me stand up, let me stand up, let me give birth the way my grandmothers have for millennia. Liability risk, no, lay down. Liability risk, no, lay down. My petitions turn to screams. for autonomy over my body. The doctor relents. I stand up. I squat. My ancestors dream of me. My beautiful son crowns, leaving the nature of my womb only to be thrust into a cold building on a dying planet. Anthropogenic climate change sustained by politicians and corporations. Short-term profits trump my son's future, the future of all my children. My son belongs to the world and all children belong to me. The screams of my fight continue into the annals of government centers and in front of Dark Age Duke headquarters. I watch in horror as my elected followers allow greedy developers to rape and pillage the tree canopy of my home. I watch in horror as the Republicans colonize the commons, the air, the land, the water. Shut up. The economy, they say. Shut up. The economy, they say. I watch in horror the wolves don the sheepskins of Democrats, plastic people faking the funk skunk. My horror is my resolve. Red Rebel Brigade holding actions, monkey wrench systems change, and a turning of the collective conscious.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we have any other speakers, Madam Clerk? So that is the end of our public forum for tonight. We do now go to our consent agenda.
Quite a night.
On our consent agenda, I'd like to have a motion to approve items 34 through 50 with the exception of 44 and 46.
So moved.
A motion and a second. All in favor of that motion? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. This is, the next item that we have on our agenda is item number 44, which is an interim remedy for 5624 Lawn Meadow Drive. And we have a speaker on this agenda item, and that speaker is here. And as well, we also have the community neighborhood development staff person that has been working on this as well.
This is from our agenda.
All right. Mr. Polton?
Yeah, thank you for allowing me to speak. I own 5624 Lawn Meadow. It's been vacant for at least 7 years, maybe 10. The city is coming here to ask you for a demolition order. We've owned it for about 45 days now. We've pulled trade permits on it. Some of them have even been finished. We're constantly improving it. The city has come out and looked at it. I've given them open access to go into it at any time to take a look at it. And I'm just asking that you vote no to issue this demolition order. It's been 7 to 10 years. What's another 90 days? You know, just give me some time to get this finished. It's going to make a nice home for somebody. And I just think that if you guys vote yes on this demolition order, it just really complicates my life a little bit more than I just think it needs to be. And, I mean, it's been 10 years. What's another 90 days?
All right, so we have the head of our code enforcement unit here. If you've heard the speaker say that it's been 10 years and he needs another 90 days, can you respond?
Yes, good morning, Mayor, or good evening, Mayor and Council. Jane Talon, Housing and Neighborhood Services, and I am your Code Enforcement Division Manager. Mr. Polton and I actually had a conversation last Thursday. He is correct. He was gracious enough to allow me access to the property so we could look and see the work that had been completed. There still is some significant work that needs to be done, and really what we're asking is to go ahead and have the ordinance passed this evening and enter into a consent agreement with Mr. Polton. He indicated to me on the phone last week that he would like 60 days. I think it would probably be more prudent to enter into that consent agreement for 90 days to make sure we have enough time to make sure all the repairs are completed.
So, Mr. Polton, did you hear our response to 90 days consent order that you would sign for the repairs?
I mean, I'll do what I have to do to make this work. I prefer not to have that part of the process involved. I'm sure that code enforcement comes to you several times a year. It can always be brought up the next time. You know, if you guys feel that that order needs to go through, I think it's unnecessary. Obviously, I'm going to work with the city code enforcement to try to resolve this.
I take that as a maybe. I didn't hear a yes or no in it. I want to be clear. They're asking that you do a consent order for 90 days.
Yes.
Well, you're not required to. So with that, what does that require for us to have a consent order? We
So
approve the
typic-
demolition and it's for 90 days, or does it stay for 90 days?
So what we would do is we would ask you to pass the ordinance this evening. We'll enter into a written agreement with Mr. Poulton with certain milestones, with ultimately a 90-day compliance date. And then, once that is done, the ordinance would never be executed.
Okay. Mr. Bakari?
Mr. Fulton, are you going to be able to complete the work in 90 days?
It's a reasonable amount of time that we should be able to get it done. Right now, we're kind of, the trade work is kind of being slowed down because we don't have electricity hooked up. So we're waiting on some final inspections to happen before Duke Power can come out. I think 90 days is a doable amount of time.
And you've only owned it for 45 days, is that correct?
We've officially owned it for about 45 days.
So did you walk into this situation understanding the dire nature of kind of repairs and necessary, or are you just learning?
I knew about the code enforcement actions. I don't think they're dire at all. I mean, I have pictures that it's not a dilapidated house at all. You know, it's in very good shape. You know, all the windows are there. It's a good-looking house even. You know, it's not a health hazard to the community.
I've worked with our staff on a number of these now, and I know that they've been pretty fair in the things they've cited. So all I'd say is if you think you can achieve them in 90 days, I think this is reasonable. I know they will work with you, and we'll make sure as we check in that you get every fair chance on those 90 days as possible.
Sure.
Is that a motion, Mr. Bakari?
Motion.
Second?
And we have a second, Mr. Driggs.
Yes, second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye of the motion for
Aye.
the
Aye.
demolition and the consent order. Thank you. Okay. Any opposed? Mr. Winston is opposed. The next item that's on for our consent is item number 46, which is an interim remedy of 4704 West Sugar Creek Road. We don't have a speaker, but I think Mr. Winston wanted to address this.
Separate vote.
I'm sorry.
Let's go for a separate vote.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed.
All right, so we have that. So now that takes us to our regular agenda for our business meeting. I'd like to ask the council if we can move item number 16 ahead of the at the top of the agenda, if that's okay? Without that, is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
So the next item on our agenda we'll address is agenda item number 16, and this item is to adopt a resolution accepting the donation of 2 parcels of real property on East Arrowwood Road and South Boulevard from the John G. Blackman, I can't even say another word today, Revocable Trust. I wanted to introduce this, and I see the family members here. Earlier, it's probably been several months ago, Mr. Baker will recall, I had a visit from Ann Bass, one of the children of John Jerry, who all of us that remember him called him Jerry Blackman. And she came in, and I just didn't know with her brother, and she didn't really say anything about this. And she said, you know, my dad just passed away, and of course, we very sorry, condolences for that. And she said that he cared deeply about this community. And we all, I knew that anyway. We knew how much he cared because of his service to this community. And she said that he has been watching, because he had not been well for a while, and he had been watching the work of this council, and he had been watching our work around the issues of affordable housing. And he said he wanted to do something. And I don't think any one of the siblings had any idea of what would be done. But tonight, we are here, and I'd like to read something about Jerry Blackman because he did something that's fairly remarkable in this community. And I want you to know, Malcolm Graham and I were talking about this earlier today, and Malcolm said something that I'm going to let him say again about Jerry Blackman before I begin to read this. Mr. Graham?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and to the family members. I never served with Jerry as a member of the North Carolina State Senate, but certainly as an aspiring public official in this community, I certainly knew who he was. We shared a lot of things in common. One of those things that we did was our political affiliation, but it really didn't matter. Jerry was a statesman, and he always wanted to do what was right for this community, and I learned from him. I watched him, and certainly I followed in his footsteps. So I'm here to say that I'm sorry for your loss, but he made an impact on this community. He made an impact on this former state senator and council member, and what our community needs more of, what our state needs more of, what our country needs more of, is statesmen like Jerry Blackman. So, Madam Mayor, he was quite a unique individual in this community.
So I'd like to enter the following statement into our record tonight. Jerry Blackman of Charlotte passed away peacefully on Sunday, June the 9th, 2019. He was born December 23rd, 1928 in Asheville and was raised in South Carolina. After graduation from high school, he joined the U.S. Navy and became a springboard to the University of South Carolina, where, in his words, the best thing in my life happened. I met Irene. Irene and Jerry were married for 66 years. In 1954, he earned a mechanical engineering degree from the university and worked in that field for 7 decades, becoming a successful businessman in Charlotte and starting his own company 50 years ago, J.G. Blackman Associates Blackman Services and Carolina Products. While Irene and Jerry were raising their 4 children, John, Rick, Ann, and Bill, he contributed to the community through politics, serving as a North Carolina state senator and serving on the North Carolina Ethics Commission and on the board of Mecklenburg County Commissioners. As Mr. Graham said, he enjoyed working with both sides of the aisle to get things done and was glad to be a part of vision and planning for Interstate 485 and Charlotte's light rail system. He had a knack for looking into the future and acting on it in the present. If there was anything that disappointed him, it was the rancor in present-day politics and the inability of both sides to work for the common good of their constituents. St. John Episcopal became the Blackman's church home, and he served the vestry there. In thankfulness for his life, Jerry was generous, but he believed that the ability to give does not elevate one person above another. He asked that these words from Emily Dickinson's poem be used in his obituary. I'm nobody. Who are you? Are you nobody too? Then there's a pair of us. Don't tell. Jerry and Irene were remembered for their wisdom, kindness, generosity, and they had a great gift of family and friends. So we have here his children. John, please. John, not here? And Susan, right?
This is my husband, Dale.
Dale?
William, and the attorney who did all the legal.
Oh, the lawyer. Oh, well, the lawyer will introduce you into our family. So the gift of land at the City of Charlotte is entirely consistent with the generosity that Jerry exhibited through his life, which he instilled in his family. His memory will live through this donation. On behalf of the citizens of Charlotte, we accept this donation as a part of his gift of giving back. And so with that, I'd like to have a motion to adopt a resolution accepting the donation of 2 parcels of real property on East Arrowwood Road and South Boulevard from the John G. Blackman Revocable Trust.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. I'd like Ann, if she would like to come down and speak. You're welcome to.
I'd rather not. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not like my dad.
Well, I bet that means you're a lot like your dad. So with that, is there any further discussion? With our gratitude and generosity for this gift, All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Kind of makes me, so grateful to serve this community, to follow in the legacy of someone like Jerry Blackman. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right, well then we'll go back to the mundane. The next item on our agenda is the city manager's report. This isn't mundane at all. I'm going to have to apologize for that.
You're not going to finish the business agenda?
You're on the policy agenda.
So, Mayor and members of council, I have the 30-day memo for you. And as the mayor alluded to earlier, it provides the agenda for not only the next business meeting, but the next strategy session, as well as the next budget workshop. And what you will see is the 2020 legislative agenda for the 24th, as well as the Circular Charlotte update, stormwater pollution control ordinance, and a closed session if necessary. One of the keys with this next 30-day memo is that you have one business meeting in the month of March. So we're trying to get a number of items done in February. So not only the business meeting, but also the strategy session, which we will discuss the balance reduction framework and affordable housing update. There will be some 9% and 4% credits that will come to your attention this week. So we'd like to make sure that we stay on top of that with you. And then for the next budget workshop, we'll have a compensation and benefits discussion, public safety compensation discussion, a strategic energy action plan update, as well as two of the enterprise funds, the water and the stormwater budget overview. We really appreciate the way that council handled the first budget workshop. There was a lot of items there, and it will be somewhat of a repeat on March 4th. So that's what I have in terms of the 30-day memo, Mayor. And I would like to have one recognition for one of our wonderful employees, if you would allow me to do that.
Please.
So I am going to welcome Ron Hargrove down. He is the Deputy Director of Charlotte Water, and he serves as the Director of the American Water Works Association, and he has a presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. Thanks for having me. Again, Ron Hargrove, Charlotte Water. I'm also a member of the board of our North Carolina American Water Works Association and Water Environment Association. It's the water and wastewater professional organization here in the state. And so we would like to take this opportunity to recognize one of our very own members here of the city. Our association is very lucky to have the talent and support of many extraordinary volunteers and water professionals. And we enjoy recognizing the most exceptional volunteers and the best and brightest of North Carolina's water industry. On behalf of the Collection Distribution Schools Committee and the Board of Trustees, we recognize Ms. Angela Charles, Assistant City Manager, as the recipient with the With Everlasting Thanks Award issued by that committee. This award recognizes a long-term committee member that has given significant contributions to the activities of the committee, which mainly focuses on quality education and training in the areas of meter operations, water distribution, wastewater collections, and cross-connection control. Before stepping away from the committee in 2019, Ms. Charles served on the Collection Distribution Schools Committee for more than 20 years. During her tenure, she served as in official capacity as instructor for multiple classes, coordinated for distribution classes, and held multiple positions on the Board of Trustees. I think Angela said she taught her first course in 1993. Unofficially, and probably more important, Ms. Charles has served as a champion for the Distribution Collection Schools Committee by recruiting new members and always fighting to keep the needs of our operations personnel at the forefront and maintaining values of the committee in the work that she has done through various local and national roles. She has served as a mentor and role model for fellow committee members, association staff, and numerous industry professionals. Also, as we celebrate African American History Month, the Board of Trustees would like to recognize that Ms. Charles was the first African American female in North Carolina to serve as its chair in 2017. She was also the first African American female in North Carolina to be awarded the prestigious George Warren Fuller Award. It's given for sound engineering, diplomatic talent, and constructive leadership, and the Arthur Sidney Bedell Award and the Raymond Red Ebert Award for outstanding service in the water wastewater field. In closing, the Board of Trustees expresses its sincere appreciation to Ms. Charles for her continued support of the North Carolina American Water Works Association, the Water Environment Association, and the water industry. So with that, I have a little plaque here.
Ms. Charles, please. Ms. Charles, you're the only assistant city manager with a crew. I see you guys up there. I tell you, don't be blushing. They know you, so all of us want to say thank you for the work that you've done. You have really created what we would call a great value proposition for the entire organization, not just in water, but as a leader in this organization. We look forward to many more years of that support, diplomacy, and smart work. So thank you very much, everybody. Another hand. Okay, Mr. Manager, I think we should do something like that all the time. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay, the next item on our agenda is item number 12. It's the city bridge inspection contracts, with approving a contract of $124,000 for the inspection of bridges not qualifying for federal funds, approving a contract for $643,000 for the inspections of bridges that qualify for federal funds, adopt a resolution authorizing the manager to execute a municipal agreement with the North Carolina Department of Transportation to share the cost in inspecting city-maintained bridges and culverts for $514,000, and adopt a budget ordinance appropriating $514,000 from the North Carolina Department of Transportation for bridge inspections. Do I have a motion
to
for
approve
A?
and adopt.
Second.
All right. We have a motion for A through D. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. Item 13 is the North Tryon Street route change request. Adopt a resolution endorsing rerouting a portion of North Tryon Street to a portion of North Church Street between Creswick Avenue and Matheson Avenue in Mecklenburg County, and to support the the North Carolina Department of Transportation amendment to the official United States and North Carolina highway system maps accordingly.
Motion to adopt.
We have a motion to adopt. Do I have a second? I have a second. Mr. Eggleston.
So this is a great change that's going on in the north end, and one of the things I want to note that is positive about it is it increases our pedestrian and cyclist network and safety with bike lanes, better sidewalks, planting strips, things of that nature along North Tryon and North Church Street. We've got a lot of places that really need this, and that was very obvious last week. We lost another life on a part of the plaza near Matheson, not too far actually from this corridor where we've got these improvements. And it's not the first time we've lost somebody on that section of the plaza. It's not certainly the first time we've lost somebody cycling or jogging or walking in our community. It happens far too often, and we've got roads like Independence Boulevard and Berkshire Freeway and our interstates that are limited access, and there's certainly not people walking on sidewalks there or trying to ride a bike there. They're designed to move cars as quickly and efficiently as possible, but we've got routes like North Tryon and the Plaza and Central Avenue and Albemarle and others that people need to be able to walk and bike and utilize safely to get from their place of residence to their place of work to wherever they want to recreate, school, wherever. And this council, this last term, and I think the current term council will carry it forward, has done more probably for bicycle infrastructure and pedestrian infrastructure than we've seen in recent history, but we can't do it fast enough. And I know that there is a cry from the community, and has been for some time, but specifically we heard it again in the wake of the loss of life last week. So I hope that we will continue the good progress that the last council made on this council, and that we can work with staff to try to find a way to expedite a lot of this work, because every day that we don't have these sort of infrastructure improvements that we're approving here for North Tryon and North Church Street on lots of corridors like this in our city where cars are doing 50 miles an hour, not the posted speed limit of 35, but yet people are trying to walk and bike alongside that, we will continue to lose citizens in this community, and every single one of those is tragic and unacceptable.
Thank you very much. Mr. Winston?
I do have a question, but I did want to comment on what Mr. Eggleston said. I actually own a house right there on Anderson Street in the plaza. And one of the early consent agenda items last term, we identified dangerous corridors that we were going to invest in. And I remember I went to Danny Pleasant's office and said that this portion of road needs to be on there. And because we do things by data and data-informed stuff, since the data wasn't there, we did not consider that stretch of road. And 2 people have been killed on that since I brought that stretch of road up. So I know we like to do things data-informed, and we like to be methodical about things, but we have to take common sense, qualitative feedback on things and figure out how to get things done when the community is speaking to us from real-life experience. I have a question about this item. I'm assuming that, is this a permanent change? Because I know they've already changed the right-of-way on this street. I thought it was temporary. So are we saying that traffic is going to move along Church Street and Tryon in that configuration from here on in?
Liz is coming up to address it.
Good evening, Liz Babson. I'm your director for the Department of Transportation. Councilmember Winston, as I understood your question, yes, this is changing the route designation. This will ultimately be what we call a one-way pair. And so in its final configuration, we need to designate US 29 and NC 49 on that new constructed facility.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Mayor Pro Tem.
I have a question. Liz, if you could stay, don't go away. Are we, to that point, I know you prioritize the high incident network, I always say that wrong, the high injury network, but do we literally assign a weight to our capital spending decisions because of it being a high injury network, or do we bump them up when the scores get worse, or?
So I'll generally answer that question by saying yes, but specific to this project is not related to some of the issues that Councilmember Eggleston just mentioned on the plaza.
Well, I meant even the stretch that Mr. Winston was talking about.
I believe that was the same stretch on the plaza, which is different than the project that we're talking about where we're reassigning the route designation.
Okay, I just wondered in general if we're really adjusting our capital spending because of an increase in, something that gets bumped up higher up in the high injury network.
Yes, ma'am, we are, and we can continue to provide you that information through our Vision Zero updates. You hear us talk a lot about that.
Yeah.
I think we've done a couple of those with you in the last year to highlight some of those projects and in the way that we consider how we invest our capital spending. I was with you earlier last week during the budget presentation, for example, and the street lighting efforts that we're now undertaking are very much influenced by that data.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have another question, Liz, and this may be one, in the world of your expertise and your requirement for leadership, if there is truly something that's genuinely assessed and made a decision, as traffic engineer for the city, do you have the right to make immediate improvements no matter what, or does it require the council's approval?
I think it would depend on the level of investment and current council policy, and if there was something within that current council adopted policy that we were able to proceed with, then we could certainly do that and wouldn't wait for council direction. But if there was something outside of that, then we would need your direction and your approval.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Driggs.
Just a brief comment. Mayor, you may remember in 2014, I was riding a bike on Carmel
Yes.
Road,
Well,
and a driver didn't see me because the sight lines weren't very good, drove right in front of me, and I hit the car at about 22 miles an hour, went over the roof, and hit the deck, and somewhat dislocated his shoulder. I was lucky to get away with less than that. But these are the dimensions of the thing. The road I was on was actually quite wide, and so the traffic on the road I was on wasn't the issue. But the way the corner was arranged, you couldn't see. So I think we need to include lighting, sight lines, and those considerations in our efforts to improve pedestrian and bike safety.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So always working on improving for mobility. Okay, with that, we haven't taken a vote, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. The next item on our agenda is the exchange of right-of-way along the Lynx Light Rail Corridor, a resolution authorizing the exchange between the city and 2151 Hawkins LLC involving a parcel that's been identified and authorizing the manager to execute the documents. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to adopt and authorize.
We have a motion for A and B and a second.
Second?
All right, a discussion, Mr. Winston.
I'm going to vote to approve this, but I did have some questions. I understand that we're getting pieces of our land, exchanging it, but this is something that we have many discussions, and I brought up a couple different times last term. I think we need to have a policy that deals with how we negotiate when our land is in deals. There's going to be office space built here. I know no plans to include affordable workspaces in there, nor is there any affordable housing in this deal. I think everything that we put our assets in should get to our goals around affordability and lessening that equity gap. I know this swap will help this deal go through, but I don't know how this gets us closer to the priorities that we've stated overall with our uses of land.
Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The next item is item 15, the Knight Foundation Award for 5 Points Plaza Programming to accept the awarded funds in the amount of $394,000 to support the programming of the soon-to-be-constructed 5 Points Plaza for 3 years following its completion. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
We have a motion and a second. Second. Any discussion?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Graham.
Thank you. This is a tremendous opportunity for us to receive over $394,000 to support the 5 Points Plaza Park, which is right across the street from Johnson C. Smith University. It's directly going to impact the Wesley Heights, Billerville, Seversville, and the Billerville communities, and it does a couple of things in terms of objectives, helping to establish events and programming for the community, ensuring that the 5 Points Plaza is active and an active space reflective of the identity, culture, and heritage of the historic West End. And it also creates a volunteer-based programming model that is self-sustaining. So I'd like to thank the Knight Foundation for this generous grant to the city. And the park and the plaza will be done by the end of the year. In addition, there are a number of other projects that are coming to fruition on the West Trey Street, Bedford Road corridor. The I-77 West Trey Street underpass project is scheduled to be completed by the end of the year. The streetcar project, we're keeping our fingers crossed that, I'll say January of next year, but certainly on the paper is scheduled to be completed by the end of the year, more likely January 2021. The Russell Ferry Pesquet project is due to be completed by the end of the year. The State Street pedestrian improvement plaza is scheduled to be completed by the end of the year. And just 2 weeks ago, the council authorized the manager to spend over $2 million with Duke Power for the street lighting. So long story short, this is a great grant, and it's when we're talking about programming, which means that these projects are slowly but surely coming to an end, and I think it's going to really remake the lower part of the Bedford Road corridor. So I urge the council members to approve this.
All right. Any other comment? All in favor of the item, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The next item, we've accomplished 16, so we are now at the point in the agenda where we are going to have nominations, because the City Council will consider nominations to various boards and commissions. The council submitted nominations earlier to the clerk during the earlier meeting and on the second floor. Names of the nominees will not be read at the dais. Tomorrow the clerk will email you all the names of the applicants that have received at least 2 nominations, and these candidates will be considered for appointment at the next business meeting at the end of this month. Any applicant receiving 6 or more nominations can be considered for appointment tonight upon a motion and a vote of council. The names of all nominees will be recorded in the official minutes of the meeting, and the clerk will now proceed with announcing the results of the nominations for the various boards.
For the Bicycle Advisory Committee, Jamie Emanuele received seven nominations, Ian Shale, 6 nominations, and Angela Stoyanovich received 6 nominations. These persons can be appointed with a motion, vote, and a...
Motion to appoint.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Business advisory.
For the Business Advisory, McLean Godley received 10 nominations.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
I'm sorry. McLean. Okay.
For the partial
All right,
term...
wait, I'm sorry, you got 10? That person got 10?
Yes.
Did we have a motion?
We do.
The Business Advisory Committee?
Yes.
The chamber seat.
Oh, got it.
I think. She knows what she's doing.
It's for the chamber, the Regional
Alliance.
Business Alliance seat.
Clearly, we know why it was only 10.
Okay.
He's ready to go to war.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right.
There's one appointment for a partial term of an at-large representative, Matthew Chaneri, received 7 nominations and can be appointed.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
We have a motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
One appointment for a partial term recommended by the Black Chamber of Commerce, Kathy Dawkins received 9 nominations.
Okay.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay. For the Charlotte Business Inclusion Advisory Committee, one appointment for a partial term of an at-large representative representing Prime Construction Company, and another appointment for a 2-year term. Following individuals received 6 or more nominations. China Green received 6 nominations. Stephanie Kegley Adler, an incumbent, received 7 nominations. And also an incumbent, Edison Cassels, received 7 nominations.
Motion to appoint.
We have a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
For the appointment of a 2-year term representing from the Metrolina Minority Contractors, Valerie Dale received 10 nominations.
Motion to appoint.
Do we have a motion second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Also, a nomination representing the Metrolina Native American Association, Jesse Jacobs received 8 nominations.
Move to approve.
Second.
And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
For the Charlotte International Cabinet, there are 2 appointments. One applicant received 9 nominations, Sean Smith. The other nominations will be brought to you at the February 24th meeting.
Motion to appoint Sean Smith.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Sean is here. Congratulations.
Thank you all.
Sean.
For the Charlotte Tree Advisory, there were several appointments, 3 appointments for partial terms, 1 appointment for another partial term, and of those, 2 individuals received 9 nominations. The remaining nominations will come back to you on February 24th. Kawana Davis received 9 nominations, as did Charleone Maria Macon. Both received 9
Motion to
nominations.
appoint.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
For the Citizens Review Board, Brittany C. Lee received 7 nominations. The other position will come back to you at your February 24th meeting.
Motion to appoint.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
Second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Okay.
For the Citizens Transit Advisory Group, 1 appointment for a partial term, Noah Cartagena received 9 nominations.
All
Motion
in,
to appoint.
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
For the Civil Service Board, Patrice Funderburg received 7 nominations.
Move to approve.
appoint or approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
For the Community Relations Council, there are several nominations that will come back to you next week. However, Braxton Biercoats received 7 nominations and can be appointed tonight.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Not another Braxton.
You'll like this one.
Braxton's in the audience too.
Just kidding.
Keep going, Madam Clerk, keep going.
The Housing Appeals Board, those nominations will come back to you on February 24th.
Did we do domestic violence? Is that one? Weren't enough?
Oh, yeah.
Domestic violence will come back to you next week.
Okay.
Housing appeals will also, not next week, at the next business meeting on February 24th. Keep Charlotte Beautiful, there were 3 positions available. However, Caroline Sawyer received 7 nominations. The remaining nominations will come back to you.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
For the neighborhood matching grants, Shannon McKnight received 6 nominations.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
Aye.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
For the Privatization and Competition Advisory Committee, the incumbent James Morrisini,
Marasenio?
yes, received 10 nominations, and George White received 8 nominations.
Motion? So moved.
appoint.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
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 For the Transit Services Advisory Committee, Scott McIver received 9 nominations.
Move to approve.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The other positions will come back to you on February 24th. And finally, the Zoning Board of Adjustment, 1 appointment, Deborah Drisden received 7 nominations.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now it's time for mayor and city council topics. Why don't we start with Ms. Johnson?
I'd just like to say that next March 23rd, we're going to, March is Brain Injury Awareness Month, so we will be observing brain injury awareness in the chamber. So I want to invite any survivors to come and be recognized or be acknowledged.
Thank you. Mr. Winston?
Some writers have so confounded society with government as to leave little or no distinction between them, whereas they are not only different, but have different origins. Society is produced by our wants and government by our wickedness. The former promotes our happiness positively by uniting our affections, the latter negatively by restraining our vices. The one encourages intercourse, the other creates distinctions. The first is a patron, the last a punisher. Society in every state is a blessing, but government, even in its best state, is but a necessary evil. In its worst state, an intolerable one. For when we suffer or are exposed to the same miseries by a government which we might expect in a country without a government, our calamity is heightened by reflecting that we furnish the means by which we suffer. Government, like dress, is the badge of lost innocence. The palaces of kings are built upon the ruins of the bowers of paradise. For were the impulses of conscience clear, uniform, and irresistibly obeyed, man would need no other lawgiver. But that not being the case, he finds it necessary to surrender up a part of his property to furnish means for the protection of the rest. And this he is induced to do by the same prudence which in every other case advises him out of two evils to choose the least. Wherefore, security being the true design and end of government, it unanswerably follows that whatever form thereof appears most likely to ensure it to us, with the least expense and greatest benefit, is preferable to all others. And that is from Common Sense by Thomas Paine, 1776.
Thank you. Ms. Sajmira? I'll pass. Mr. Newton?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Happy Valentine's Day to my beautiful wife, Tiffany. That's all.
Okay.
I was trying to make us look bad.
Mr. Driggs?
Also happy Valentine's
I just wanted to thank Kim Oliver and Melanie McCullough for their great job organizing my town hall on Saturday, and also to the presenters, really to the point, concise, great meeting. About 150 citizens were there, and we talked about Ballantyne Reimagined and road projects and the 2040 plan, so the manager had a chance to tell that story there. Mayor Pro Tem, thank you also for joining us. A good meeting. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Watlington?
I just wanted to invite folks out to my neighborhood showcase on February 18th at 6 p.m. at the Movement Center, or I'm sorry, the Movement School. We'll be there for, first of all, an overview of affordable housing and the city's role in it, and also some peer-to-peer mentoring and conversation amongst neighbors about how they've used Housing and Neighborhood Services tools to innovate within their space. So you're invited. There's food.
Repeat the time, the place.
October, it's not October, February 18th, 6 p.m. at the Movement School. Thank you, dear.
Mr. Bakari?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this weekend, we had a really incredible event in our own backyard in Charlotte and South End, and it was an esports gaming competition amongst some of the world's best Call of Duty players. And if you're not familiar with esports in Charlotte, I definitely encourage you to ramp up, pay attention, get to know it, because it is something that is increasingly taking over markets in the world, and it will have an impact one way or another on Charlotte very, very soon. But I just wanted to relay a quick story so you understand Charlotte's own history in esports. In 2016, for 6 months, we had an esports team named Envy, Team Envy, in our own backyard for 6 months. And those owners who were forward thinkers had a franchise that was worth about $10 million at the time. And they went around town trying to raise the capital needed to be a large-scale global competitor. And no one here in Charlotte understood what esports was in 2016 at the time, and they weren't able to do it. And a Dallas oil tycoon came and gave them $25 million, recruited them to Dallas, and in under 4 years, that franchise is valued over $200 million right now. So right now, aside from seeing a great event in our own backyard, we face another amazing opportunity. The owners of our local team, Phoenix, the Charlotte Phoenix, right now are going after a major acquisition. Many of the investors saw the event on Saturday and what it could be, and all kinds of different high-profile local investors that are invested in our community. I believe the money's going to be there. I believe that the right connections and the ecosystem players are all going to be there to either make this or another acquisition of magnitude happen in the very near term. And we get to have an amazing do-over of rewinding the clock back to what we had in front of us in 2016. So other than being aware of that, if you don't know about esports in the community, I definitely encourage you to ramp up, learn about it. And if you do, and you're a passionate competitor, player, or just a fan, take a look at the games that are out there, because there's an amazing opportunity for you to build groups and coalitions in town to say, we want, a Call of Duty league or a Rocket League or a Fortnite team or whatever those may be, because kids are getting college scholarships to play those right now. So we want to build a pipeline, and we want to hear from you and see which teams you would most like to be recruited and grown into that league. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Graham.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Over the weekend on Saturday, Neighborhood Development sponsored their 15th annual Neighborhood Board Retreat. It was an amazing success. Over 19 community boards were represented throughout the city, and it gave the boards the opportunity to come together and plan and put policies and procedures and goals in place for their neighborhood organizations for the balance of the year. The city will be doing it again in July, and so if there's any neighborhood leaders who are interested in participating in bringing your board together in a really great atmosphere to plan for your neighborhood's future and or to steal some best practices from other neighborhood organizations, I would encourage you to contact Neighborhood Development and sign up for July of this year.
Mr. Eggleston.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Said part of mine earlier about the need for safety for our cyclists and pedestrians, but on a happier note, Councilmember Newton and I had the chance a few nights ago to go and see a preview of an exhibit that is now open on Antarctic dinosaurs at Discovery Place, and we were forced to leave when Councilmember Newton tried to mount one of the dinosaurs for a picture. But while we were there, we had a great time. There are two newly discovered species from the Antarctic continent of dinosaurs. It's a really cool exhibit, so I encourage people, if you're into science as an adult, or if you have young people who are, take them down and see it while it's here. It is a world-class exhibit, and once again, something that Discovery Place is bringing to our city that we would not have otherwise. So thank you to them for that, and we apologize for Councilmember Newton's behavior.
All right, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So a couple council members have mentioned tonight the tragic accident with the cyclist this past weekend, and prior to that even happening, I was going to mention this on Friday. Within the course of an hour, I was within feet of two really bad car accidents within an hour. One where a driver decided he needed to get past the light rail arm faster than the arm, and it didn't quite work, and he ripped it off. And then another car was darting out into traffic to try to turn left and went too fast, overcorrected, rolled into the median and over into incoming traffic. And it was just really lucky that nobody was killed or hurt bad in either of those. And it just makes me more aware of when we drive around Charlotte. Yes, we have a lot we've got to do for infrastructure to make Charlotte a safer city for pedestrians and walkers. We're dealing with a city that was designed a long time ago that wasn't meant for that, so it's a very expensive proposition to have to make all those corrections to make it safer, but in the meantime, the community has to help us. We have to slow down. I have to slow down. I know that. As Mr. Manager would admit that. I know that, but we all have to slow down and take time, because you don't know who's going to jump out in front of you. It could be a child. It could be a cyclist. And we've got to all do our part to not run the red light just because you know no one's there, and slow down at intersections and at pedestrian crosswalks while we're trying our best to try to make this city safer for cyclists and walkers. That's it.
So with that, I have two things that I wanted to mention, and one of those really ties to the idea of what we're doing with mobility and transportation. Remember we talked about a 90-day, what's easy to do, to fix, and some things that would make a difference? So I'd like to see where we are on that. And then the second thing is that we're coming up on our budget deliberations, and we have a plan for a housing bond that would be on the agenda this fall. You know, 2 years ago when we were trying to determine how to make affordable housing dollars go further, we did a lot of work and we created a housing framework. And I'd like to ask our Great Neighborhoods Committee to review that framework, look at an assessment, get some ideas around it, and recommend any changes that we should be making for the upcoming. I'll write all of this down and send it to you, Mr. Graham, but for that committee to really take a hard look at what we've done on affordable housing and look at our framework to say what is this to go and move forward and any revisions that we needed. So that would be one of the things that I wanted to bring up as a result of where we are with getting ready for the budget. Yes, Mr.
Just a
Driggs?
quick comment about that. I think we're way behind on NOAAs. We had an idea when we created the framework there would be about 40% new construction, 40% NOAAs. So I think there's already a suggestion that we're going to see how the whole program is tracking what was in that framework. But just for openers, I think the NOAA situation is one that we haven't properly addressed. Thank you.
And we don't know why. And that's one of the things, again, when we started out, we had lots of NOAAs saying, we went to many meetings and people said, I've got NOAAs for you. And I'm not quite sure. So that's why I think this idea of looking at the framework, we may have thought something was practical at this point and maybe not. So looking forward to kind of a review and an assessment. And then the final, we have an item that's been added to the council agenda tonight, and I am trying to find where it is. Here it is. On Wednesday, the January 15th, the City Council held a closed session pursuant to General Statute 143-318-11A6 to consider the competence, performance, character, fitness, conditions of appointment of an individual public officer or employee, mainly our city manager, Marcus Jones. And during that meeting, council considered a compensation adjustment for Mr. Jones. And I would like to read a motion and have someone move and second, and then to have a vote on our decision, formal vote on our decision. The motion is to approve a 6% merit-based increase for the city manager, provide up to the dollar value of a family tier coverage annually for the traditional, and I don't know what PPO stands for, plan, wellness, currently labeled as PPO Plan D, Dental Plus and Vision plans, and defer the dollar amount that exceeds the 401k annually to the existing 401A deferred compensation plan, and this action will be retroactive to July 1, 2019. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve with acclamation.
Second. We have a motion and a second and a request for approval by acclamation. I actually think I get to vote on this one, Mr. Attorney. So all in favor, please say aye. 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 Any opposed? With that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. We have a motion to adjourn, and all in favor, aye. Aye. Thank you. Thank you.